Welcome in, welcome in. Tuesday evening is here. It is the week of the big game, and because of that, you already know, we've assembled the superstar cast to talk about this. As always, we're going to go, no pun intended for my channel, around the table and let you know where you can find everybody. We'll start with the man, the myth, the legend, Daniel Petty.
What's up, guys? Man, we have we're here for Georgia week. If it's not in your veins for this week, this isn't the sport for you. And I'm here for it. I'm here with my guys. Let's fucking go.
Love it. Love the energy. And you know what? I can't wait for the mailbag. That's always my favorite time of the week. And I'm just counting down the seconds.
And just a little sneak peek. I mean, Todd didn't play this week, so our attention was all over. And boy, there was just one team crapping all over themselves in this state. And their coach might have ran his mouth a little bit. I mean, my mailbag is just chock full from a certain team down south. So, yeah, stay tuned for the mailbag tonight.
And we appreciate them for it. We truly do. The man next to him, always in a perturbed mood, always ready to bring the pain. Luscion, how are you?
You on mute.
We would not be doing a live show if someone didn't talk muted, and I'm just very happy it wasn't me this time.
It's probably a good thing I was muted because y'all didn't want to hear what I just let off with because it was nasty. But we're just going to go with the edited version. Them dogs. I've been waiting. We've all been waiting, and now it's here. I'm ready for the business with them dogs, and we about to get into it.
Well, speaking of them dogs, we got the two brothers down below who are the dogs of this panel. Chris, how are you?
I'm here, baby. I'm ready. Man, it's Georgia week, man. We've been waiting for this since the schedule was released. The new SEC schedule was released, and they announced this date the same day. All the hotels in Tuscaloosa were sold out. Everything was sold out. I couldn't even book one. So, you know I'm ready, baby. It's Mutt week, man.
Hey, I know who's definitely ready, and that's Dan the man. Dan, how are you this evening?
I'm always good, brother. Hey, it is here. It is here. This is the season this Saturday in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Everything that we've done in the off season, you know, it is this time, you know, so it is time to it is make or break time. This is the moment of truth in the season for the University of Alabama and the University of Georgia, and I'm loving it.
Well, guys, there's a whole lot we need to get into tonight. And if y'all have noticed, it's probably my first time. Jimmy Clay with the $25. Of course, Jimmy, we appreciate you being here. We appreciate everybody being here. We appreciate the $25. Guys, I always say this. Two most valuable things you have in life is your health and your time. And I can't articulate how much I appreciate y'all giving us your time on this evening. That truly is above and beyond. I thank you all. As y'all may have noticed, Hugh, no, we don't need to borrow a quarterback. Keep that over there. I don't even know if y'all can spell quarterback over there. I don't know if y'all
stay with this, Hugh Freeze. Please.
But I don't have a hat on. And this might be the first show I've ever done without a hat on. And my hat usually holds it down. But I'll tell you who holds this show down, Petty. Tell them about the sponsor who's holding it down.
Limestone is what holds this show down. I mean, they hold your house down. I mean, it's stone. So let me tell you a little bit about that stone. Have you ever dreamed of having beautiful natural stone in or around your home? Don't settle for subpar materials. Check out Limestone Company's selection of natural stone products to meet all of your project needs. Limestone is located in Aniana, Alabama, and is one of the oldest, most trusted stone sources in the state. So contact them today and tell them we sent you by using the promo code TheBamaStandard and get 10% off your first purchase. Limestone Company. We love you. We thank you.
Well, listen, I'm going to peep y'all into something y'all might not know. I approved that message, and my middle name is Stone. So if that's not just giving you the ultimate approval, I don't know what is. Guys, we have waited long enough. The time is here. There are a few matchups every college football season that to me stand above the rest. And I'm a college football fanatic. Make no mistake about it. But from a schematic perspective, what more would you want? Kalen DeBoer's offense against Kirby Smart's defense. Nick Saban no longer at Alabama, and he has been the boogeyman for Georgia, for Kirby Smart. Will that continue? We are being treated to an excellent game this week, and we need to talk about the matchups. And gentlemen, the matchup I want to give to all of you is Bama's ability to run the ball against Georgia's front seven and Georgia's ability to be stopped by Bama's front seven. I think the easiest way to do this is going right down the line. Petty, talk to me about Georgia's run game versus Bama's front seven.
Well, I mean, Bama's front seven has been pretty nasty so far. I know there's been times where we've felt like that we wanted to get off the field a little better on some third down situations. But, man, if you look by the numbers, the defensive line has kind of held up. And this isn't so much against the run, but against the pass. We've got 14, hurries so far on the season and 7 sacks. I mean, that's a defensive line that's getting after it. But more so, I mean, you're facing a offense that's got Etienne that's rushing for, I think, 6 a pop. I think Frazier's running for 5.7. That's become their main guys. Heck, even Beck out of the backfield's got 55 rushing so far for 5 yards a pop. So he's using his legs a little bit. So it is going to be a battle for the defensive line. I think that, dude, I think we're talking about the key to the game right now. I think this game comes down to whose run game can do the best. But hell, you flip over to the Bama side right now, and the numbers are just jarring. Jam's busting at 9.1 and a carry. Justice is at 8.7. Milrose at 4.3. I mean, it is a legit 3-headed monster. So, again, I can't stress more. This is coming down to this is an alpha dog game, like Lou said in the preview that we put out on social media today. I don't think it could be said any better. And both teams right now are pretty much, I think they're mirror images of each other. Two just mauling offensive lines. You got two-headed running back monsters that are averaging a first down every 2 carries. So I don't know, man. But Bama at home, I think the offensive line got better. It got that road game under their belt where they had all the noise. It was their first time together where you had Proctor and the whole gang out there, and the penalties were cut down, and it was a better product. So I'm really excited to see that. I might have rambled on it a little bit. I don't know if I gave an edge, but I think this is the key to the game, and I think it's, I don't know, man. I'm battling on how I think this is going to go right now, because it's just going to be, I think this is going to be one of those classic, like the LSU Bama games of yore. I don't think this is getting in the high 20s. I think we could see a 17-14 game, and it's coming down just to this. Who can run the ball better? And, man, right now, with Milrose's legs, what Bama's been setting up, I'm leaning towards Alabama. No Kool-Aid, no Homer.
I don't disagree. And you want to know what is fantastic is the man, the myth, the legend, the president of this show has a comment. Justin, by all means, make yourself known.
Actually, Dan is the one who had the question. That was not me, but I do appreciate you acknowledging your Crimson Tribal Chief.
I apologize. I saw the message before. Dan, by all, you next. That's on me. Listen, without the hat, I'm not all there. Okay, you can only expect so much of me.
It's letting some stuff out.
Oh, we got the second mute of the evening, and it's not me.
Second one, and it's on me. I don't want to undersell, the significance of this game. Usually when these two teams meet, there's a lot on the line, and that continues to be the case this Saturday. You have the SEC championship on the line, which usually means the national championship on the line. You have recruiting implications. It's a lot of things. It's Alabama's biggest recruiting weekend of the season. It's a lot of things. These teams go head-to-head for several recruits. And, this game right here is the game regardless. The in-season game, this game is the game, the biggest game that we've had, I'd probably say, since LSU brought the 2019 LSU Bama game in Tuscaloosa. But this has been the biggest game in Tuscaloosa since.
It's been a long time. And Chris, as I look to you to talk about this, I do want to preface something. Being that you're a defensive back, I want you to answer this question, but I also want you to speak on this. Coming into the season, both Bama and Georgia were in a similar position in that they thought that the fronts were going to be the strong parts of their defense. And in no way, shape, or form am I saying that the fronts haven't been a strength. But if we look right now, the secondaries for Alabama and Georgia are ranked within some of the best in all of college football in terms of expected success and yards per attempt. I mean, both of these secondaries have far outperformed expectations of fans going into the season. So not only talk to me about how Bama's front seven can mitigate this run game, but how important is the success of the secondary in mitigating an experienced quarterback in Carson Beck?
Well, first off, when you have guys in the secondary that can cover the way that these guys can, it allows you to do run stunts and play games up front to leave your secondary on an island. Because when your secondary is weak, you have to drop more guys in coverage. That means fewer guys that you can send. You know, now you can send 5, 6 guys and be fine on the back end because you have guys like Keon Saab, Malachi Moore, the money guys that can just flat out play football, and having that type of luxury is unparalleled. As far as other schools being able to match, have that type of freedom, to do what they want to do with their front because their back end is so good. It kind of reminds me of the experienced secondary that Michigan had last year. How dominant they were, because you had Will, like Domani Jackson, man. I think he's one of the most underrated corners in the country. He's been flat out beating people up, man. He's physical, he's fast, he's big, and then you bring in those experienced safeties, man, and man, we're kicking tail, man. So I believe that our front will play with a chip on their shoulder because depending on, I haven't heard much about Russo. Anybody heard anything about Russo? If he's good to go?
I heard he was doing some stuff, but who knows what that means, right? Stuff is
quick update. He actually is going to be playing this Saturday. Now, as to what percentage, that is to be determined, but his presence will be out there. So
that's good because thank God for the depth that we have. Quadarius Robinson, the guys we have up front, man. LT Overton, James Smith, Tim Keenan. Like, man, we shouldn't, like, if we are able to stop the run with our front, man, it's gonna get ugly for Georgia, man. I'm just gonna go ahead and say it now. If we're able to just neutralize their run game without having to bring an extra safety down in the box or something like that, man, it's gonna be really a really long night for Georgia.
I don't disagree. And guys, I'm going to tell you what I'm looking for in this game right here. Unfortunately, and I take no pride in saying this because football is a game where I don't care who you play for. I want all of these guys to get through the season healthy, to pursue their dreams of trying to reach the NFL or whatever their dreams may be after football. That would make me happy. If Bama won every game, but the team they played was fully healthy, walking out of that game and walking into that game. Unfortunately for Georgia, one of their best offensive linemen is not going to be a go, Tate Rutledge. Now, I bring that to you because if we look at the interior, Tim Keenan is doing exactly what I thought he would do, continuing to build on the season he had last year. And guys, his usage hasn't even been very high, which makes me wonder, okay, was it that we were doing really well against Wisconsin for the most part, stopping the run in the interior? And the staff was like, okay, let's develop some of these younger cats behind Tim Keenan, get this going to where we have the depth. I think we see some Jaheim Otis, Tim Keenan in this game really stifle the interior of this Georgia offensive line because Rutledge, unfortunately, isn't there. Petty, I see you.
Yeah, I love that you brought that up, Ty, and I almost hate that I didn't think about it because, heck, I had a Georgia guy on our show last night who was an offensive lineman, George Fall, and we were talking about Rutledge being out. Micah Morris has played a lot on that offensive line at the guard position, so they kind of rotated them. But that's a great point, man. You don't have a guy that's probably one of their most veteran presence amongst the offensive line in that interior against a defensive line that's got some dudes that can do some disrupting. All the guys you just named, I really am glad you brought that up, because that could be a key point to the game where Alabama can take advantage and shut down that run.
100%. And when I flip the script, it's one thing stopping Georgia's run, guys. They have got some great running backs. I'm going to let y'all know right now, against Clemson, the breakout player I chose was Nate Frazier. One, due to the lack of availability for other running backs. Two, he's dangerous. And even Nick Saban was talking about Frazier, saying that he thought he was the best running back in the nation last year. Kid runs a 10-5 100-meter dash. We have got to protect the edges, because if he gets some space, he's got some home run speed. And the last thing you want is Damani to have to run him down and catch him, because luckily Damani runs a 10-2 100-meter dash. So Bama's got to set the edge. They have got to stay disciplined there. They have got to be disciplined up front in their gap schemes. Luckily, guys, Alabama's linebackers have been playing a hell of a lot better than I think they played even last year. Shout out to Womack. Interested to see what new looks Womack will show. But this gets me into Luscion. You said you had something for the danger zone.
I do.
Well, it's that time.
Sensational. So, this week in the danger zone on the defensive side of the football, the importance that Kane Womack has stressed is doing their job and playing full team defense and actually becoming what he has talked about since the spring football and becoming the swarm. The swarm is only successful when everybody is doing their individual responsibility. They're not worried about what anybody else is doing. They're hyper-focused in on each individual responsibility. Because if everybody's doing their job, like somebody quoted on the Bama team earlier, one band, one sound, and they make beautiful music when everybody's on the same page. And I'm going to flip it over. On the offensive side, it's simple. Georgia's going to come with it. This is going to be a battle of the trenches. Everybody knows it. Everybody in the country. Everybody in the country knows what's about to go down. It's about to be the biggest fist fight of heavyweights in college football. It's going to come down to, can our offensive line out-physical, out-bully them? And I do believe, behind the leadership of Tyler Booker, that they're going to get it done. It's going to be a fight, straight out. Everybody knows that. We're ready for it. This is the Thriller in Manila, but it's in Titletown Saturday night. And our offensive line has one responsibility, and that is to dominate those little puppies in the trenches. What y'all got? Anything to add in my zone tonight, y'all?
Well, I see Hugh Freeze is on it.
Hugh Freeze?
Yeah, the danger zone is what we call the Auburn passing game, because you never know who's going to get that ball, right? You just never – I don't know if y'all saw SEC shorts this past week. After you get done here, not before, stay put, not before, but after, go watch it, because they nailed it once again. Guys, I'm going to pass this around, but I do want to bring up one thing. Then, Petty, I'll start with you. Bama's offensive line is better this year than it was last year. I don't think there's – Proctor was our highest-graded offensive lineman against Wisconsin. Take that for what you will. I know you can say, Ty, it's Wisconsin. That's fair. He was still the highest-graded offensive lineman against Wisconsin. The young man is playing confident, and I love where he's at. I'm really excited to see him in this game. But, gentlemen, Luscion, you talked about whether or not the offensive line can dominate that defensive front. We know they're going to put spies on Milroe. The pin and pull is unique in terms of its ability to isolate those spies, because now Jalen's not running just by himself on like a draw. He's going to have Roberts and Booker in front of him, and those spies, guess who they're going to meet first? Those two guys. They don't run Jalen without protection in terms of a pin and pull or J.M. Miller or Justice Haynes. That, to me, is going to be a key. And third down, Alabama has been pretty darn good at being able to capitalize on some third downs when they need it. I need to see it this game. Petty, talk to me about Lushion's danger zone. No diddy.
Yeah, man. it's the defense is going to have to fit those run gaps, man. I do. I have loved the play of Rusal and Jihad Campbell, man. He just looks like that prototypical old school linebacker. But man, this is going to be like Luscion said. This is the mega powers colliding in the center. But you've got, for that to work, you've got to be assignment steady. You got to have your eyes in the right place. You've got to be filling those gaps. And like Ty even alluded to, Frazier, man, he's got the ability to get to the perimeter. And we saw in the USF game, they got to the perimeter a time or two on the defense. And that's where we were like, hell, man, we got to get off the field. We can't give up these 13 and 14 play drives. In every one of the games to this point outside of Western Kentucky, there's been a drive or two where it's been very sustained. Well, guess what, man? We're going to have it's going to be a heavier offensive line working behind the drive this time and some more capable running backs. So you've got to play your assignments, linebackers. This is going to be a game where Alabama's linebackers, who I agree have looked better this year, have got to play like them madmen and play assignment steady. And you've got to be playing those run fits.
I'll tell you who else to watch, especially for a Nate Frazier. Justin Jefferson is playing an elite brand of football right now. Ever since Western Kentucky, he looked good in Western Kentucky. He had some missed tackles, but he has not had that issue since, and he is playing like a man possessed. Gentlemen, I really hope he returns for another year and that he doesn't get too highly graded. I mean, if he does, bless, right? Go have a great NFL career, but I'd love to see him be a mainstay in this defense. Dan, I'm going to throw this to you, and I'm going to ask you this question right here. As we're, I want your take on the danger zone, but I also want to ask you this right here. Is this a game where we see Q Rob really continue his excellent season because that man has been possessed in terms of pressuring the quarterback?
That's a good question, Ty. But I'm gonna start with another question. That's all based on, can we keep Georgia behind the chains, to allow him to be able to do that. Let's stop the run on first and second down to allow him to be able to do what he does best. Similar to the way we used to use Tim Williams, because that would allow Q Robinson to be at his best. We get him in third and long, and we let Q Rob eat. So yeah, that's a great question. But it's prequel by another question: can we keep Georgia behind the chains?
I love it. And do you think that we'll be able to keep them behind the chains in order to utilize Q-Rub?
Without a doubt. That was the difference in the SEC championship game. We were able to dominate the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. And I think that should continue this year. Georgia's not the same on either side of the ball. They're not the same team, like similar to what team said about Bama the past couple of years. They're not the same team. In Georgia, you're starting to see chinks in the armor, early. So, that's a good question.
Love it. Now, Chris, I see you down there, focused as always. Talk to me about the danger zone for Alabama. How can they find the success? I want to hear your take on this.
I think that they can find the success is if Tim Keenan and Jaheim Otis shows up and keep those linebackers clean. Because when Lawson and Campbell are able to float and Jefferson are able to float to the ball, man, they get there, man. They get there with reckless abandonment. And how I would play it personally, if I'm Womack, I would kind of treat it like Bama did back in 20. What year was that when we Fournette Leonard Fournette yards?
17.
Was that 2017? When we just it was crazy.
I thought that was 2015.
No, that was 15 because Henry was in that game.
Because Derrick Henry won Heisman that pretty much.
Yeah, that's right.
But let's just say 2015 to 2020, sometime in that frame.
2014 and 2015, yeah.
Yeah, but because how we loaded up against a run and forced them to put the ball, was that Mettenberger at the time? That was playing. Was it Mettenberger? Who that quarterback?
Maybe Josh Booty.
I don't know. He was incredibly forgettable.
Right.
We made him crawl off the field. Was that the game we made him crawl off? No, that wasn't. They all starting to run together. They all starting to run together. But how we just loaded up, we just dialed in against the run, and dare them to beat us with in the air. That's what we need to do Saturday. Load up and put the ball in Beck's hands and say, hey, your receivers are gonna have to beat our DBs. And your tight end, they're gonna have to beat our DBs. I'm loading up against the run and making Georgia uncomfortable, because if you watch Georgia play, Georgia thrives in 5 yards, 6 yards, 7 yards a pop. And then once you start to dial in, they hit you with the play action. And that's what they like to do. So I would load, like Dan said, we keep them behind the chains, load up against the run, man, and make it 3rd and long, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 7, and force them, the receivers, to get open. I really think that that should be the game plan going in, man. Let's load up, man. Sneak a safety down and man up across the board, man. Let's lock this thing up. I think that's the key to success on Saturday night.
Well, guys, before we move on, I'm going to give you kind of the reverse, right? I'm going to tell you one thing. And we've talked about the edges, but one thing I think Bama has got to do, especially in this game, to stay in a position that's advantageous to be able to put pressure on Beck. Like Dan said, your question to me, which is a very fair question, Dan. To me, the way you can be successful in that, don't let Delp stand in the middle of that defense and have success for 3-4 yards a pop. Because, listen, I know some Georgia fans aren't the highest on Bobo, especially after seeing what Monken did. Monken was a hell of an offensive coordinator. I can't tell you how glad I am that he's out of Athens and he's in the NFL. And Bobo hasn't done bad per se, but they are the type of offense that if they can get 3 yards a pop, they're going to take 3 to 4 yards a pop. Shoring up the middle of that defense, making sure that Delp isn't standing there for an easy 4 or 5 yard completion. That's how we're going to be able to have success. So the linebackers, to me, are very key in this game. If we can get go ahead, Lou.
I just want to make one small point about something. About some of our defensive line. If our defensive line, other than Tim Keenan and LT Overton, pack their lunch on Saturday, they're not going to be able to do anything in the middle, because it's not like we don't have the players. We just have yet to see them actually hit. And like we said, if Jaheim Otis is in the backfield in Georgia's offense Saturday, they're not going to be able to do a whole lot, because we also bat passes down like it's our job in our defensive line. So he's not going to have the passing lanes down that he has against other teams. So that's going to be another aspect that I think they're going to need to keep up. He's going to have a rough night.
Listen,
I think he's going to have a long night.
I'll tell you what, if we can put Tim Keenan or LT Overton on the backup guard and let them eat, because, gentlemen, LT Overton is building every single game. His confidence is getting more and more, because let's remember something. He did a total position switch. I know a lot of people will come on and ask, what about Keon Keeley? Where is he at? And I always say, hey, the young man had to transform his body to do a total position switch. That takes time. LT Overton did the same thing. There's a reason this young man was the number 1 player in all of high school football before he had reclassified and was still top 20, was number 17 in the nation. He is a monster. He is playing with confidence. He's clicking in now. Put him or Tim Keenan on that backup guard and let them eat. Because if you do that, our defensive backs are on an island, and though some of them are young, I like where they are on an island. But guys, speaking of liking being on an island, let's go to the island right now. Do we have the intro music for the island? Did I get to do the little hula dance too? Or are we just going right into it?
Hey, man.
Yeah, man.
Hey, man.
Really on an island by this is the Tom Hanks version of On an Island.
I love that music.
Is that the coconut?
So much.
Yes, guys, this is our time. One of our favorite parts of the show on the island. What we want to highlight, Bama safeties. Keon Saab, Malachi Moore, and Devontae Smith against Georgia's tight ends. as we all know, Georgia's passing game is very predicated on their tight ends. It's very predicated on play action, getting the ball to the tight ends in space, and let them run because they have a great crop of tight ends. Lucky, Delp, they're pretty, and they got a transfer from Stanford, so that's been playing pretty well. So it is very important that we cannot let those guys slip out into the flats. We cannot let those guys hit us up the seam because the last time Georgia hurt us bad was the championship game. Well, really, they hurt us bad. That both times we played them back in 2021 when we beat them in Atlanta. Brock Bowers had a big game, and then later on in the national championship in a rematch, he caught a touchdown that kind of was a dagger to us. So Georgia and Mike Bobo, he loves to use those tight ends. So being able to have experienced safeties like Keon Saab and Malachi Moore, being able to have guys like that pretty much in coverage and being able to see it all unfold in front of them, that's very key, man. I can't like put enough emphasis on how lucky we are to have those guys on the back end. Because you think about it, man, a lot of times some schools are forced to play good true freshmen. Like for example, on the opposite side, KJ Bolden. He's a freshman that's starting for Georgia. And if you look at it from our perspective, there may be a situation we may be able to take an advantage on getting him to bite up, and then hit him with Quavers or something like that. So it's very important, man. I don't think people understand how big of Georgia's offense those tight ends are. And because like I said, we're not worried about, well, at least me, just being a defensive back, I'm not worried about their receivers. They have good receivers, but I mean, we see good receivers all the time. That's the SEC. You're going to see good receivers. I'm that confident in our corners that they will be able to hold those receivers down. That if we take away the tight end, those easy throws, those easy completions in the flat, limit those to 3 to 5 yard catches, they catch it and we tackle them right there. Don't let them run with it or eliminate the
misdirections.
So, misdirections, chunk plays, things like that. And I think we will be able to take that away because we have two of the better safeties in college football, probably the best. Would you guys go as far as saying they may be the best safety tandem?
I mean, in terms of Malachi is playing unbelievable this year. He looks like freshman Malachi. Plus
him and Sam.
Yeah.
Easily a top 4 room in all of college football. And I'm going to tell you guys something right now. There have been some great safety tandems out there this year playing high-level football. They're up there with the best. The best. Now, I love what you say there, Chris, but now I'm going to toss this to the panel. And I'm going to play a little bit of devil's advocate here.
Good stuff, Chris.
Because there's one thing that does not concern me, but I am interested to see. The one area where teams have been able to attack our secondary is from those slot corners, whether that's Red Morgan or Devontae Smith. They have been attacking right there. Now, the one thing that both Devontae and Red have done a great job of is not letting the guy get an outside release. The receivers have tried to release outside. They will not let that happen, force them back inside, and that's why they haven't hit on these deep shots. I know Alabama fans are like, oh, but they had 2 steps on them. Yes, but the fact that they kind of won at the line of scrimmage prevented them from completing that pass. It threw off the timing. Petty, I'm going to start with you. Are the slot corners for Alabama going to be able to hold down against Georgia to allow Bama's front to be able to feast?
And I think they will. And I think this is where Bama really has an advantage because look, man, Georgia's had 2 pretty good litmus tests to this point with Clemson and Kentucky. And we're not seeing something in that offense with Beck. He doesn't have his safety blankets anymore in Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey, who was open, like everybody says, every damn play. And Bowers was a generational talent at tight end. I mean, so far, Dominique Lovett and Arian Smith have kind of been his go-to guys, but you just don't see it like he's not going to him like he was those two guys. So I do believe that gives Bama slot DBs a chance to cornerbacks to go man. I don't think they found that game breaker at wide receiver yet. Whereas I've even made the comments. I was at the USF game. I saw wide receivers kind of running a little open in the backfield at times, but the quarterback couldn't get on the ball. I'm not sure. And again, a lot of that was predicated on the defensive line and Overton getting so much pressure. I think that plays out against Georgia much the same damn way, man. I think this is a game where we can press the receivers, go man, and let the front seven eat and do their thing, and let those safeties, provide that protection over top, especially against the run. I really like the way our defense sets up against this offense. I think it's a matchup that plays in Alabama's favor.
Chris, go ahead.
Let me tell you something. I guarantee you, if Georgia sees 16 out there, Red Morgan, they're going to try to get Arian Smith in a slot on them and get them in a matchup and try to hit them vertical over the top.
Well,
look out.
Yeah, Chris, what I was expecting was something like, Kirby he's going to throw his haymakers early. I was looking at something like a flea flicker, something like that. So, to suck him up, but yeah, he's gonna go at 16 without a doubt.
Yeah. But that remains to be seen. So I'm not sure how many snaps 16 is going to get as a backup. You may see a lot of 8, but don't be surprised if Bama throws another corner out there. So a bigger guy like Hurley, if they've been working that this week, I don't know what they've been working this week, but nobody knows but Bama. But if you see a guy like Hurley, not Hurley, I'm sorry,
Jones,
Mincy, 6'3", physical. I mean, that's
what I meant. Not Hurley. I'm sorry. I meant Zay Mincy. Don't be surprised if you see a guy like Zay Mincy line up in the slot, or some type of changeup, or if they bump Domani in to the slot and bring 7 Jones to the outside. Anything change, or King Mack, a guy that's been flying around. Don't be surprised if because just like we see it, Bama's had 2 weeks to address it. They see it also. Coaches see it before anybody, because the eye in the sky don't lie. The film doesn't lie. So we see it. They've seen it and they've heard about it. You get what I'm saying? So don't be surprised if you see a change in that slot, like a different package, to where somebody like a more of a cover guys move to that slot, because we already know they're going to try to take advantage of Arian Smith. That's all they like to do is send them deep and try to get him on right, or get Dominique Lovett in a matchup one-on-one with one of those guys. That's what they're going to try to do. So don't be surprised if you see a change right there, especially in passing situations.
Love it. And guys, before I pass this, and I want to reverse this, talk about Alabama's wide receivers against Georgia's secondary. And Luscion, Dan, I want y'all to talk about that. But before I give you that, this is something else to think about. Chris, you talked about the talent of Alabama's safeties and Moore and Sabb. I wouldn't be surprised to see them roll the safeties, right? So if 16 or 8 is out there and they do get Smith in the slot, you see them roll to where Sabb is back deep, covering, helping that slot cornerback, and Moore comes down into the box to be that extra man in case they try and run. That's the beauty of having the versatility of these 2 safeties for Alabama, is you can roll the coverage depending on what you need, and they can both do it. Dan, I'm going to start with you. Bama's wide receivers against this Georgia secondary, what do the people need to know?
That's a good question too. We get the run game going. I like our receivers against their secondary, but we get the run game going. We get the pass game going. One is going to open up the other. It's just a matter of which one. Georgia has given up almost as many yards they've rushed for, so they're susceptible to the run. But when Georgia, it's a matter of capitalizing. When Georgia hasn't allowed a touchdown this season. And teams, when teams get in the red zone, they're getting field goals. But the thing is, Georgia hasn't seen a quick strike offense like us yet. A team that can challenge them vertically, and we have the run game to support it. And they are kind of struggling against the run to say, and Georgia's not the typical selves running the ball. They're what? I think they're 13th in the SEC. If people didn't know that, they're 13th in rushing in the SEC. That's not Georgia football. That says a little bit of the offensive line, but to answer your question, you know, we can be very opportunistic because the team that we've seen so far in this year is not the team we're going to see Saturday. We're going to see the best version of Georgia Saturday. But you know, I like our wide receiver room versus Georgia's wide receiver room without a doubt. I like our wide receivers versus Georgia's defensive backs. Yes, I think we have an advantage.
Love it. Now, Lou, you know, we've seen a lot of Ryan Williams. We've seen a lot of Jeremy Bernard. But Kobe Prentice and Kendrick Law are still two very talented guys that we haven't seen feast in this offense. We do know that DeBoer is still rolling out part of his offense. Is this a game where a Kendrick Law has a massive game in terms of production?
Yeah, you know, I think that this might be a game where you actually see what Alabama's offense is truly going to look like. You're going to actually get to see some of the things we've actually been waiting for, because I think that there is so much talent, but they haven't had the time to build the continuity and a type of consistency within their line, within their wide receiver room, to be able to put on display what they're truly trying to do. And I think it's going to happen on Saturday. I think Kendrick Law is going to take a big step. I think Kobe Prentice is going to take a big step, because everybody knows right now the focus is going to be on Ryan Williams, which, beyond a reasonable doubt, it probably should be. I don't think there's a cornerback in the country that can cover the kid. That's not me being a homer. That's just me being factual and statistical. But we also have other weapons that they're not going to be ready for. I am not sure that they have enough in their secondary to actually contend with our guys once they get it in space. Because I will say that is something consistent from top to bottom. Once any of our receivers that we're going to throw out there get the ball in space, they're going to make it hurt. It's not like the past Alabama wide receivers where they get it, it's going to be like, oh, what are they going to do? Are they going to, catch the ball and then fall forward for a yard? Are they going to take 3 steps back? No, these guys are being decisive and they're making moves upfield, and a lot of them are getting yacked. That's yards after the catch if you didn't know it. And that's going to be a thing I think we have an advantage with our receivers. They're a little bit more twitchy. They're a little bit more of a playmaker. And I think we get the ball in space, I think we can really hurt the secondary of Georgia.
I love it. And Ben Lovett's point saying, I think the focus will be stopping the run. I don't disagree. I think for both defenses, that will be the focus. But then that also opens up. Milroe is a weapon with his legs as well. And he's also a weapon, something we didn't see last year. Think of the first Alabama touchdown this year. Milroe running around, buying time, hitting Law, and Law taking it. We didn't see that from Jalen last year. That was a play last year where Jalen would have taken off, right? Or tried to stay in the pocket because he wants to be able to beat you downfield. But this year we have seen multiple instances of Jalen utilizing his legs not as a weapon in the run game, but as an extension of the pass game. And that's something that could really hurt Georgia if they're too keyed in on stopping him. Getting Law in space, getting Bernard in space, getting Prentice in space. Petty, I see you wanting to add something in. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, and man, I think two of our people in the comments have made kind of good points about, and it's going to be on Milroe to be able to identify this. Khalid has made the comment, well, Georgia put their best corner and nickel on Ryan Williams to kind of bracket him. Well, if they do that, then they're not putting 2 spies on Milroe, and that's going to give Milroe more opportunity in the run game. If they put 2 spies on Milroe, you're not going to be able to bracket Ryan Williams, and that's going to give Ryan Williams chances to get open in that secondary and man coverage. So that's going to be a big focal point and a big opportunity for Milroe. It's going to be on Milroe to identify that in the game, if that's how Georgia's going to play it, because they did put 2 spies last year. But you put 2 spies on him, then you can't bracket Ryan Williams the same way. You're going to be playing more man coverage with the receivers. And if that is the case, it should open up for Law, Prentice, some of these other guys.
You don't want to bracket Ryan Williams, because if you do, you're going to have to deal with Jeremy Bernard one-on-one.
And that post corner, gentlemen, Jalen Milroe throws the post corner as well as any quarterback in the nation. And we saw that against Wisconsin. And I'm telling you right now, that will be a concept they try and hit Georgia with. But I'll tell you what else we need to hit Georgia with. Petty, we have another sponsor of this show.
Look,
and we're going to try and make Georgia throw in the towel. But what towel are we going to be holding high?
That by God title towel. That's how we're going to teach the Georgia Bulldogs to behave this weekend, by waving that title towel in the air like you just don't freaking care. And how are you going to do that? You're going to go to willsports.com and tell them this promo code, the standard, get you a little discount. That way, when you go to that game, you can let all those Bulldogs know you're the best Tide fan and that you are a supporter of willsports.com who love us here at the Bama Standard. So go see them today. Tell them the standard, get your little discount, and do not go to that game this weekend empty-handed.
Love it. I want to see those towels like this is a Steelers game, right? I want to see them out. I want to see them being waved around. Let them know. Guys, it's that time. My favorite time of the week, quite frankly. And Petty, what a weekend it was. I mean, you know, for us. And who's that there behind you there, Petty?
Oh, hey, Coach.
You got it.
Hey, Coach Freeze. He's up coaching. We got Coach. He's up in his coaching from his hospital.
Oh, look at that.
Hey, Coach. How's it going?
Oh, my gosh.
As you know, Bama didn't play this weekend, so we had to avert our attention to other football games. And by God, was there a humdinger down there on the plains. So much so that my mailbag just got lit up after one Coach Freeze just couldn't contain himself. I got you, Coach. We're going to talk about it. So without further ado, let's just hop into this mailbag. Ben from Auburn. Hey, ever since the game Saturday night, I hear a faint beeping sound all over the city. Is that normal? No, Ben. That's just the sound of your head coach in the Auburn dump truck backing over his quarterbacks over and over again that he's paid a lot of money to recruit and develop, which he has not done to date. Ooh, quarterback whisper. Matt from Opelika. Oh, that's Opelika. I guess that's right outside of Auburn. How is it that Freeze could win at Ole Miss and not Auburn? Ooh, I don't know, because it's not 2010 and we don't have a time machine. Look, I get there was a day where Auburn could steal Ole Miss's coaches. Here's looking at you in your pine box tubby. But that day's dead. They struck out on Ole Miss's coach last year and got Ole Miss's sloppy failed seconds. Look, he did win at Ole Miss, but let's not forget on his way out, he got curb stomped by Vanderbilt in the worst loss in Egg Bowl history to Mississippi State. He trashed their program, kind of like he's doing Auburn's. Maybe it's time to accept that Auburn is a has-been program in this new era. All right, final question, Jim from Montgomery. What are your thoughts on Freeze's comments about playing Arkansas 9 times and winning 9 times? Well, in the famous words of my man Dan James, if my aunt had a pecker, she'd be my uncle. And Freeze, that's just not the way it works, buddy. And that's it. I hope you have a good week, Auburn fans. Weagle, and hope you find that quarterback.
Marshall Henderson, Lord.
I have no words.
Excellent job, Petty.
That first one, I had to mute myself because that sent me. Man.
Well,
guys,
can I ask one question? Just for semantic purposes, who do you think has used more baby oil in 2024? Hugh Freeze or P. Diddy?
I think they use the same supplier. I don't know, man. That's tough. That's like the Georgia versus the Highway Patrol question. I don't know, man.
Who's gone faster this year?
Hey, the rumor mill says that it was really 300 bottles, but Hugh Freeze took 200 out before the feds came.
Hugh Freeze sent his guy in.
They caught Bucky with his teeth nibbling on them bottles before they got out.
Hey, be nice to Peter Pettigrew. It is time.
Hey, Hugh, we got a sash.
It is time for the question and answer segment. Justin, you throw the questions up here, and we will assign them an answer. Hugh Freeze. Listen, there's no better person to answer this one than Petty. Petty, here you go.
We've been calling Hank Brown Santa the way he was gifting Arkansas the ball. He's a generous kid. Well, Freeze, that's a great question. You know, you said if you played Arkansas 9 times, you may win 9 more times. Also, if you played Arkansas 9 more times, you would have to back over your quarterbacks 36 more times for the interceptions they would throw in those 9 games.
Wow.
He's not wrong.
Keenafy
asks, do y'all feel that Deontay Lawson is living up to the first Agent Zero in Alabama history? Luscion, I feel like this is tailor-made for you.
Yeah. You're muted.
No.
Oh.
No. No.
Ouch.
No.
Next question.
What? You don't think he's living up to it?
No.
Why not?
I mean, does he give you Reuben Foster feelings? Then he ain't living up to 0. I mean, you got to be Agent Zero, to be the first at linebacker. You got to be him on our defense. And by my calculation, we talk way more about Jahad Campbell and Justin Jefferson. So as far as Agent Zero living up to Agent Zero, to me, no. And that's a challenge to him. Prove me wrong. I love to put my foot in my mouth, and I'll admit it. He comes out Saturday and balls, I'll give him his glory. But to right now, no.
Hey, in defense, he has really put it together as the games have gone on. I think Wisconsin, as the game progressed, he looked real good. I'm with you, though, Lou. I hope to see that all game against Georgia. What do we got next, Justin? Mimi says, which Bama player do you think we will be most surprised about the end of this game? Dan, talk to me.
Oh, that's a good one. Wow. You know, the one we'll be most surprised about. I'm saying, you know, if Red Morgan can have a type of game that he's due for, I think he's a good one. He's a good candidate as an answer to this question. I would say Red Morgan. As surprised at what kind of gets me. Yeah, I say Red Morgan. If he has a big game, you know, that'll be the answer.
Love it. Love it. Thank you for the question, Mimi. What do we have next? How do you feel about our slot corner position? Well, Tim, I'll take this one. I think it's an area where we have got to improve, but I think it's a nuanced conversation. Dan, you've talked about this. Petty, you've talked about this. There have been times where receivers have been getting over top of the defense. Now, the one saving grace that the slot corners have done a good job of is not letting the wide receivers get outside release. They have shut that down, made the receivers go back inside, so it's thrown off the timing. But Carson Beck is a guy that will hit those throws. He's not going to miss 3, right? Like if he misses 1, he's not missing the second. That has got to be shored up, but the beautiful thing is we can roll safeties down to help out with those slot corners, and they're still young. I mean, we have to remember Devontae Smith, it's his first year playing in this role. He's finally healthy. Red Morgan's a freshman, so I feel good about the future there, but they're still very young players. What do we have next? Thank you for the question, Tim. Oh, another Hugh Freeze says, does anyone else think Carson Beck looks like Blue Martian from Space Jam? Chris, what do you think about this one?
I thought that it was somebody that he looks like. I couldn't put my finger on it. Every time I see him, I'm like, he looks like somebody. I just can't put my finger on it. It'll come to me at some point. But that's a great comparison to Blue Martian.
And we will wait for that epiphany to happen, and I can't wait. Thank you. Paul T says, do you guys think Kirby will have 2 spies on Jalen Milroe like last time? Dan the man, what are you thinking?
I don't think so. He's going to try something different. You know, this is a different offense. But you know, he had some success against it, so he may try to fine tune it. But we will see it at times. We probably will. But Jalen Walker did an admirable job early in the game spine Jalen Milroe. So we will see.
Love it. Love it. Thank you for the question, Paul T. Chris Williams says, I just feel like Alabama, if everything goes right, should start pulling away in the second half. Petty, do you want to take this one? Because this seems like he's real hurt about Auburn.
I don't know what I feel like somebody has. Hey, blink twice, Chris, or send us some kind of SOS if somebody's got you tied up and is typing this shit for you. This isn't the Chris Williams I know.
No, he's trying to jinx it.
I don't see it. Look, could it happen? Yeah, college football is crazy. Bama's at home. The offense could get rolling. I think Bama's offense right now is better than Georgia's offense, and I like the Bama matchup on defense. I'm favoring Bama in this game, but no, I don't see it coming to this. I actually see this being one of those 17-14 type of thrillers that makes all of our hearts go to the lose a few years off our life, but at the end, our Groza kicker comes in and gives us just enough for the victory.
Love it. Thank you for the question, Chris. I don't know. I'm not convinced. I'm quite frankly a little concerned. If you're okay.
I didn't know how to answer that. I know how to answer that, but I was so taken aback by who it came from. I really wasn't sure how to go. I feel like I'm being tricked.
I know. It feels wrong. It feels so wrong. Last question, Justin, throw it up. Ducati 1098 says, how can you make that assessment? They only played 3 games. They're holding a lot back. Ducati, if I'm not mistaken, this came in a segment where we were talking about what we've seen from Georgia. But here's the thing. Georgia isn't doing a complete staff overhaul. Bobo is not a new offensive coordinator. Beck is not a new quarterback. Bobo is who he is, much like Kirby is who he is. Kirby is the type of defensive coordinator where he is going to say, I'm rolling out man, beat me. And until you can prove to beat him, he's going to stick in man coverage because that's just the way he's wired. So for me, it's more about what Bama hasn't shown than Georgia because Bobo's been there. Kirby's been there. Beck has been there. They have far more continuity. There's not too much that we haven't seen. Whereas with DeBoer, we're still rolling that out. And I know Chapman says he talked to Dan Lanning today. Well, he better have figured out what Dan Lanning told him not to do because Dan Lanning hasn't beaten Kalen DeBoer once. So, guys, that is our question and answer segment. Thank you all for the questions. Now we need to go let everybody know the predictions and players of the game. Dan, I'm going to start with you. I got to keep everybody on their toes, so I'm going to reverse the order this time.
Well,
Dan,
you can do me last. Do me last.
Okay. Well, then, Chris.
That is not what Free says at the massage parlor.
Go ahead, Chris.
I won't first.
Go ahead, Petty.
No, I was doing Freeze at the massage parlor. You go first, Chris.
All right. Listen, guys, y'all going to be shocked by this. Georgia hasn't been scored on a touchdown all year, right?
Only team in the country.
But when was the last time Clemson had they've been playing well the last couple of games, but when was the last time Clemson really had an offense that was just killing stuff every week in, week out? And Trevor Lawrence left, right? All right, Kentucky. When has Kentucky had an offense with the pulse since Liam Bowden Jr.? So yes, if you're playing the bad
probably
news,
Cal Mummy and sorry.
But to make a long story short, man, I just think that they haven't been tested, and this week they will be tested. So I'm going with Bama 34, Georgia 17.
Wow,
34-17. Love it. And player of the game.
Offensive player of the game. Of course, I say Milroe every week because I think I think he's going to win the Heisman this year. I personally do. Of course, it's going to have to be him. But we're going back to I'm going to jump into the deep end on this one. Justice Haynes will be the offensive player of the game because his daddy, Verron Haynes, was a big time, was a fullback at Georgia. and that's his home state. So he's playing against Georgia. Every time I played against Georgia, I was ready to, so I know he's going to be amped up and juiced up. So I'm going with Justice Haynes, man. He's going to have a big game. He's going to rip off some key runs. He's going to have over 100 yards. And I'm saying 2 touchdowns. Okay? On the defensive side of the game, defensive side of things, I'm going with Agent Zero, Deontay Lawson.
All right.
He will have a big game, and he will show people why he will be considered the next Alabama first-round linebacker. Let's go.
There we go. Petty, predictions and players of the game.
All right, I think I told y'all my prediction a second ago. I think it's going to be a 17-14 type ball game. I think Jam Miller is going to be the guy that becomes the bell cow for Alabama on the offense and gets those critical yards. On defense, give me LT Overton. He's my guy. I think he causes just some havoc this week.
Luscion.
I predict Payne, defensive player of the game, Damon Payne Jr. Because I'm telling you, we're going to need our defensive rotation. We already know what Tim Keenan is, and after Tim Keenan eats, we're going to bring a guy in that eats just as well. Damon Payne, guys, keep an eye on 44. He's going to create havoc for that run game. And on the offensive side of the football, I ain't gonna front. Chris really stole mine in justice, but I'm gonna switch it up. Give me offensive player of the game, CJ Dupree, because we have not seen our tight ends utilized yet. And I think our tight ends versus their linebackers pose a definite threat that they have not experienced yet. But they're going to experience it Saturday night. My prediction, like I said, Payne. Give me Alabama, 38. Give me Alabama, 38-14.
38-14. Love it. For me, I'll keep this short and simple. Give me Alabama, 31-21. Offensive player of the game, Jalen Milroe, because if he gets to utilizing his legs and they have to start accounting for the rushing attack, I think he's going to be able to attack them deep. And I'm telling y'all, I think that post corner is something to watch that he will hit, because I think he's one of the best post corner throwers in all of college football. On the defensive side, give me LT Overton. He has been continuing to build on his performances, and this is the biggest game he has played in as a member of the Crimson Tide. I think he's ready. Dan the man, talk to me.
Yes, this game is going to be similar to Nick Saban's first year in Tuscaloosa. You remember Georgia came in and done, the overtime loss. Nick Saban only lost to Mark Richt. I hate to say it, Bama fan, Nick Saban is not leading his team out the tunnel. It's the reason I wanted to go last. I live in Georgia. I got a lot of Georgia friends. Georgia's won 2 out of the last 3 national championships. But guess what? Georgia's in their golden years. But even in their golden years, Georgia is 1-5 against the Crimson Tide. So why should that change? Give me Alabama 35, Georgia 17. Player of the game, Jalen Milroe.
Woo!
Love it. Love it. And they're throwing up the links. Let them know.
Throw up the links to them dogs.
And Dan, not only has this been an incredible show, and I want to thank everybody for spending your time with us. Once again, for those that didn't hear it when we first started this, 2 most valuable things you have in life is your health and your time, and you are choosing to spend your time with us this evening. I know I say that a lot. I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but it is important for me to let all of you, the viewers, the supporters, know how much we really do appreciate you being here. But Dan, this is not the only great show the Bama Standard is providing for people. So why don't you walk us through what everybody needs to be looking forward to?
Yes, y'all listen, look forward to tomorrow night We got a special guest tomorrow night on the Crimson Dynasty. Former University of Alabama great Todrick Malone. You know, he's going to talk about his experience in the 94 game, you know, his battles against Kirby Smart. You know, I advise all y'all to tune in tomorrow. We got some great stories. It's Bama Georgia week, y'all. You know, let's teach them Bulldogs to behave. Y'all tune in tomorrow night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 6:30 p.m. Central.
Love it. Petty, when do the people see all your great content over here?
Well, man, and you could have caught me last night at 7 Central on the opening kick with my boy Smoke Dixon. We had George Foster, former offensive lineman for Georgia in the early 2000s and first-round draft pick of the Denver Broncos. If you missed it, go back and check that show. After Dan comes on, also, as always, Teague's Take, man, you do not want to miss. I think it comes on at, 8:15 Central, 9:15 Eastern. He's breaking down film, and it is absolutely one of the gems of the network. You're getting damn George Teague, who's at every damn Dallas game breaking down film. It doesn't get much better than that. And then as soon as the game ends, you can tune into the network, and we will have the post-game show right here. Win, lose, or draw. We will be here to talk about the biggest game of the year to date. And then on Sunday, we have Sunday Night Talking Bama with JT, JB, Marshall, Stephen M. Smith, and the gang. That comes on, I think it's 8 o'clock Central, 7 Central, 7 Central, 8 Eastern. And then my show, we did do Friday nights, but we realized that Friday Night Lights was just a little bit too much to overcome here in the South. They love their Friday Night Lights. So we just come at you on Mondays. And again, like I said, we had George Foster last week. Next week, we got Neil McCready of MPW Digital and Rebel Grove Rivals Network, who's always doing the shows with Siski and all over the place. Going to be a great guest next week, talking probably a little bit of we'll recap this game and probably talk some other big games. So that's where you can catch me. I'm done rambling.
Hey, love it. Thank you all for being here. With that, let the people know where they can find you. You can find me at Around the Table Sports. You can find me here. Dan, where can they find you on Twitter?
They can find me at The Final Whistle Dan. I will be trolling some Georgia Bulldogs this week. Y'all stay tuned.
Love it. Chris?
You can find me on Facebook at Chris K. James Sr.
Facebook?
Yes. You can find me on Facebook.
All right, next, Luscion.
That's my thing, man. I'm a Facebook celebrity. I'm just joking. You can find me on X at Coach Chris James. You can find me on Instagram at final_whistle_Chris.
Luscion, where can they find you?
Well, they're not going to be able to because I'm going undercover as a dog catcher this weekend. But next week, you can find me on X at Roloose24, and we're going to be trolling the shit out of every SEC team, mostly orange coming from my point of view, but especially them dogs this weekend. And we're not going to forget the baby oil king of the South in Hugh Freeze. We will also be trolling him. You can also find me on Facebook and Instagram as Luscion Graves. And as always, on Tuesday nights, forever and always, you can find me with the Avengers, forever trolling everything orange and anyone that abuses baby oil. Those know who I'm talking about.
And hey, before I get to you, we will be doing debate Thursday night. Myself, some other band creators with the Fan Addict Sports Network, a Georgia fan, a great Georgia content creator. That's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be doing a structured debate. That is going to be a blast. Hope to see you all there. Petty, where can they find you? Where can they submit to the mailbag?
I can't look. If you know, you know. It's just one of those things. Like I can't be, hit on my socials to find out where the mailbag is. I just can't give it out on this show. I mean, it would just be
I understand.
It would just be way too much, but I will be giving that out after the show. You can check maybe somewhere in the comments. I'll leave it out there for you. But it's already gotten wild. These Auburn fans, once they get your information, man, it gets a little nuts. But other than that, maybe that's how you can find me on Facebook like Chris, under Petty. But I'm on X, which every time I say that, I feel like I should follow it up with you can find me on X if you search wife finds husband with girl next door. I don't know. No, X at Petty_Daniel. Give me some follows. I'm trying to catch up with all you guys. And hey, man, more than anything, I'm here on Tuesday night with the Avengers, like my boy Lou said, giving them Auburn War Eagles some hell. Hopefully next week we're going to be giving them Georgia Bulldogs some hell. So,
hey, in a perfect world, we give them both some hell. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it for us. Be sure to hit that like. Be sure to hit that subscribe. After this is done, drop your comments down there because all of that stuff really helps platforms such as this grow, get picked up by the YouTube algorithm, and that means the world to us. Until next time, that's it from us at the final whistle. Roll Tide.
Roll dadgum Tide. We don't give a piss about nothing but it.
Blitz.